Make sure to subscribe to our channel, join our Discord, and also follow us on Instagram so you always have the support that you need to really enhance your account and get yourself to the next level. Also, if you stick around until the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can save a lot of money when you make in-game purchases by getting some amazing cashbacks each time you purchase anything. Hello everyone and welcome to another video of the Sky channel. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about something I have mentioned in a previous video, but I realized that I didn't really go into a lot of details about this particular fact in those videos, and hence I didn't really do a good job in explaining it. And so I know a lot of people have questions about this concept, and there are certain times when people say that it is impossible in a 3 versus 3 island for it to ever be a 1 versus 2 or a 3 versus 2 as long as all 3 alliances are doing something that goes along with the overall camp objectives. Now that's not necessarily true, and that's exactly what I'm going to be going into a lot of detail about in this video. I'll also be talking about the importance of the first war and why your alliances should show up in very large numbers in that first war. Now, both of these concepts are going to be interrelated in the thing that I'm going to explain to you guys very shortly. Okay, so I want you all to think about this. You have 3 alliances, and sometimes it's extremely tempting for you all to divide and conquer. And that's fine, and it makes sense in certain situations, but if the clash is extremely important, let's say the tree zone, or let's say that you are matched very evenly, and you want to at least secure your buffed clash, it does make a lot of sense for you all to stick together, especially for the first few battles. Now, when we talk about the tree zone, remember that you can go to the left of the tree zone and the right of the tree zone. Now, the problem if you split up is that the enemy can come right in the middle, especially if they are coming from the top. And they can create a barrier between the 2 allies that went on one side and the 1 ally that went on the other side. Hence, you're not necessarily together. They can also create a buffer of towers, and I'll explain the value of the buffer of towers to make sure that you cannot easily reach your other allies to provide them support. Okay, so why would they ever do that? And that brings us to the concept that I want to explain. You see, let's assume that you guys have split up, and we're going to go for the example of the tree, because that is the most important clash. 2 of your allies went to the left side, and 1 of the ally went to the right side. And the enemies came right in the middle of the tree zone, and they're all 3 of them there together. You could say that since 2 of your allies on the left side, 1 of them is to the right, you're technically not split up and you're sort of together. But there's a huge buffer of towers, and I'm going to explain how that can be used. So now we're going to go into a little bit of maths, and I ask you to follow along and maybe take this a little bit slowly so you can understand it a little better. The enemies are now deciding that they're going to ignore that 1 ally to the right side, and they're going to pick on the 2 allies on the left side. Theoretically speaking, you could say that this gives the opportunity to the right ally to make significant progress and even touch the tree. Perhaps that is the case. But as long as there are enough buffers between that ally and yourselves who are on the left side, it doesn't matter. So now you have 3 enemies that are going to start fighting the 2 allies on the left side, and all 3 of them have decided that they're not going to waste time fighting the 3rd ally today. Okay, it's an 8-hour war. We're going to focus only on the 2 allies that are on the left side, ignoring the 3rd on the right. And the first day of war starts. You are on the left side with another ally. Your team shows up in numbers of 25, and your ally shows up in number of 25 as well. Together, you show up with an activity of 50 members. For the sake of this example, imagine everyone, each individual, has 100 fungi each. Together, you have 5,000 fungi. Now the 3 enemies show up in larger numbers. Assume they show up in 33, 33 and 34. Together, there are 100 active members fighting 50 active members of yourselves. And for consistency, let's assume each of them have 100 fungi too. So they have 10,000 fungi. Okay, so you have 5,000 fungi, they have 10,000 fungi. And for simplicity's sake, we're not going to talk about whales being able to do more damage and all that stuff. Very simple. Assume one fungi of yourselves takes out one fungi of the enemy. The war starts, you fight for the 8 hours. The conclusion is that your 5,000 fungi takes out 5,000 fungi of the enemies. Okay? Makes sense. Your third ally didn't get any fight. They could only break a few towers. They had 100 fungi each when they started, and they still all have 100 fungi each even now. You and your ally have 0 fungi each by the end of the war because you used all 5,000 of your fungi to take down 5,000 of the enemy's fungi. The enemy is now left with 5,000 fungi. Because you took out 5,000 of it, they still have 5,000. Divide that across 100 members, each of them have 50 fungi each. That's exactly half of the fungi that they started off with by the end of this battle. Now in 24 hours, you recover 50% of your fungi. Now I know it's not going to be 24 hours, it's going to be 16, but again for simplicity we're going to assume it's 24 hours and the new war day starts. What happens now? You had 0 fungi when the war ended yesterday. Now you have 50% fungi. Your enemies had 50% fungi when the war ended yesterday, so now they have 100% fungi. Your allies had 100% fungi when the war ended yesterday because they never used any, and now they have 100% fungi still. Think about it now. Yesterday, you, your allies, and your enemies all had 100% fungi. Today, one of your ally has 100% fungi, the one that was ignored yesterday. Your other ally has 50% fungi, and you have 50% fungi as well. But the enemies all have 100% fungi. You are much worse off today than you were yesterday. And today, the enemies have the opportunity to not only drain your fungi, but also that third ally that was ignored yesterday. Their fungi can be drained as well, and they'll still have some excess fungi to take with them to the next day. You see what happened? By deciding not to pick on one of the allies and focus entirely on the other two, they have put themselves in a fungi advantage. Primarily because they forced one of your allies to overflow in fungi while they utilize their fungi efficiently. This logic applies just the same way when we talk about the number of people that show up in the first war. If you have 100 people that had showed up to this war and the ally also had 100 people that showed up to this first war, you would have 20,000 fungi versus the enemy's 100,000. So you could drain them all and still have 10,000 fungi remaining across your 200 members, and hence you would still have 50% fungi each by the end of the first day, and therefore the next day you'd be starting off with 100% fungi, even though you're just 2 alliances. So it's a mix between getting a high activity in the first war and making sure that you are sticking to your allies, because in a way your allies are the same as having a high activity, because in general your whole camp is one alliance, and you need to see it that way. Right? You could be losing a fight against an enemy, and then an ally can bump in and help you out, and all of a sudden it feels like you actually won because technically you're part of the same alliance when you're in the camp. So I know I made it extremely mathematical, and I know it's probably going to fly over a lot of heads, but I think it's a very important concept that everyone needs to understand. And I'm going to now go out of the mathematics and explain the concept one more time. Try your best when you're in an island that you are with your allies and they are easily accessible to you. What I tend to do quite often in my islands is that I try to make sure that when we are touching an enemy tower, and in this example, I want you to think of an enemy tower being here, right? And let's assume they had gone to their camp protection. What I would try to do is that I'll try to make sure that the Sky Alliance's tower touches their tower, and then an ally's tower also touches that tower. And we do it in a way that our Sky Alliance tower and the allies tower are touching each other as well. And there's a very important reason that you need to understand. You see, when an enemy feels like they're faced against a 2 versus 1, what is the strategic thing that they should do given what I talked about earlier? The strategic thing to do is to not focus on 2 versus 1. Because if you do, you are definitely going to get drained more than your enemies will, and they're going to come back the next day with way more fungi than you. However, if you pick on one of the enemies and you are stronger than them and you have more activity than them, you can do the opposite effect. right? You can make sure that that one enemy that you're picking on while you're ignoring the other, since they have lower activity or lower power than you can make sure that they are depleting their fungi at a faster rate than you, and eventually perhaps you'll have a much larger fungi impact, and maybe you're going to be able to push them back a little bit, and then you can focus on the other enemy without having too much disturbance in critical areas from that other ally. You know what I mean? So that's something that you can definitely do, but you cannot do it in this case. Why? Because let's say the enemy, whose tower is over here, decides that they want to pick on DEF. Now, two things can happen. They're burning the DEF tower. Sky can decide to attack the DEF tower, and hence prevent them from burning it. That's a little bit of an inefficient approach. The more efficient thing that Sky can do is that they can start attacking the enemy's tower. What happens? Now they have to choose if they want to focus on continuously attacking the DEF tower and trying to burn that tower, or defend against Sky to protect their own tower. Now, if they do not defend against Sky, their tower is going to break before the DEF tower, of course, right? DEF is defending their tower. And if the enemy decides not to defend their tower against Sky, it's going to break before the DEF tower does, making the whole thing pointless for them. If they do defend against Sky, then they are fighting two alliances, and that's exactly what I want them to do, right? I want them to fight more enemies to give us a fungi advantage, right? So that the next day we have more fungi than them, and they are now starting to struggle with fungi issues. Okay, so a lot of mathematics in it. I know I probably didn't do a very good job explaining this even now. It's just so mathematical, and I wish that I could make some of those animations. But I also wanted to get this out as soon as possible and didn't want to delay it with a lot of overthinking it too much, because the next island is about to start and I want to have this concept out there for people to understand. A few things that I'll mention before I go. Yes, whales have a much larger impact, but instead of overcomplicating it, I really wanted you all to think about the complete basic concept, and then you can build on whales and all that stuff to it. As long as you understand the idea, you can build on it. I know one fungi of Ukron is probably much more impactful in taking out enemy fungi than one fungi of myself, but that's all built upon it. And before we go, I do want you to know that you can save a lot of money in the Ants Underground Kingdom. All you need to do is follow the steps that are in the video in the description, or you can click that button that's going to appear at the top right of the screen. That'll take you to a video precisely for this particular thing, and join a bunch of other whales who are saving a lot of money in the game, and you will also be quite grateful because it'll save you a lot of money in the long run, and I'll be grateful too because you'll be helping our channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like it. Please subscribe to our channel, comment below with any other thoughts that you want to share with everyone, and I hope to see you in the next one.